From South Africa, let's shift our focus to the Sahel region. Among the coup-led states, Chad is set to become the first to move to a democratic rule. Now, earlier this week, the country held its long-delayed presidential election following 3 years of military rule under the interim President General Deby Itno. Now, Deby Itno seized power after his father Idris Deby Itno, who spent 30 years in power, was killed fighting rebels in 2021.
It's not easy to lead a transition in Chad, but for 3 years, I ensured the continuity of the state. I preserved the unity of our country. I preserved peace. I organized the inclusive national dialogue. I organized the constitutional referendum. I believe I have honored my commitments.
Analysts say the incumbent Deby Itno is expected to win, but there is skepticism about whether this would bring about any change in the country. The vote was marred by a number of incidents of violence that led to at least 2 deaths. Chad, the oil exporting country of nearly 18 million people and one of the poorest in the world, has not had a free and fair transition of power since it became independent in 1960 after the French colonial rule. Among the 9 challenges against Deby Itno, Prime Minister Suksay Masra is the biggest rival. Now, he recently returned from exile to serve as the Prime Minister in January of this year. A key leading opposition figure and Deby Itno's cousin, Yaya Dillo, was killed in February. The circumstances of his death still remain unclear. Now, wearing a traditional gown when President Deby Itno came out to cast his vote, he said that he was proud to have fulfilled his promise to respect the deadline for elections. That will signal a return to constitutional order.
This is the commitment I made before God and the Chadian people, that of organizing, in the agreed-upon timeline, elections which will mark a return to constitutional rule.
But activists had called for a boycott of the election. They say it is only a ploy to further extend the Deby dynasty in the garb of democracy. Many activists are still in exile after a deadly crackdown on opposition, following protests in October of 2022 when Deby Itno extended the transition government for 2 more years. Now, Chad is seen by the US and France as one of the last remaining stable allies in the vast Sahel region, following military coups in Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger in recent years. The military junta in all 3 countries had expelled French forces and have turned to Russia's mercenary units for security assistance. The US and France still have a military presence in Chad. Now, the West also fears that any instability in Chad could increase the number of migrants moving towards Europe. Chad has absorbed more than 500,000 refugees from Sudan. Along with this, Chad is also dealing with high food prices caused by the war in Ukraine. And a renewed threat from the Boko Haram insurgency spilling over from Nigeria. People in Chad are desperate for change. They hope the vote could spark a new era of young leadership in the country.
We have suffered a lot, and people say that Chad is a country of war, but it's not a country of war. We have suffered a lot because of electricity, water. We want the person who gets the opportunity, who will be the president, to ensure that things change in Chad.
I have come to vote because I want peace, security, and stability for the country. That's my main motivation for this vote, nothing more. Especially, I wish for security for the country, and also the population suffers from the high cost of living.
What is important is credibility. That we manage to organize something very credible so that the citizen we choose can access power. That's all. So, we want the vote to be accepted and hope the majority prevails.
And for countries in Africa's Coup belt, Chad's election could be a major milestone. The 21st of May results could serve as a template for juntas seeking to maintain political influence after coming to power without people's support or illegitimately. Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent.
Hello, I'm Alyson Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa.
We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa.
South Africa goes to the polls on the 29th of May. I will track the election and bring you ground reports. Is it the end of the road for the African National Congress? And will former President Jacob Zuma stage a dramatic comeback?
From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south.
Join me every weekday live on Firstpost.